looking at the interconnections of something like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Clinton Foundation. You have Fauci here with Hillary Clinton, Fauci with Gates. These guys together, the Clinton Foundation and the Gates Foundation, by the way, Robert Kennedy Jr., the quote unquote guy who's running around acting as though he's for medical freedom, endorsed vaccine queen Hillary Clinton 3 times, endorsed her, okay? And there are organizations who are infiltrating a lot of the medical freedom movements, and they're directly connected through Mr. Kennedy up through Hillary Clinton. So this is what you have. But what you find is these organizations have been promoting, even in the medical freedom or the vaccine movement, that vaccines are the only way. And now their twist is safe vaccines, okay? And if you look at Gavi, and by the way, I was the first one to bring this out, really talk about this months ago, many months ago, that the Gavi organization is with WHO, it's with the World Bank, it's with UNICEF, etc. And one of the key things, and this is going to get into the truth as you analyze it from a systems perspective, that Gavi is a big promoter of what's called the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SDG. All right, so let me show you the connection. Here's Hillary Clinton, here's Bill Gates, interconnected to an organization called Gavi, which, by the way, gave Clinton hundreds of millions of dollars. And that organization, there's their logo, is backed by donor countries, research agencies, private sectors, vaccine manufacturers, different countries, but it's one big swamp, okay? And that swamp endorsed the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. So what is this? And why is this important? Well, first of all, the background I want to share with you is the reason this is important, the reason they set up the SDG, you're going to see very quickly, it's back-ended by Big Pharma, okay? They sort of Sustainable Development Goals. Ooh, it sounds so good. Sustainable, right? Well, it's back-ended by Big Pharma. Why? If you look at this graph, as I've shared in the previous talks, what do you see here? What you see here is that Big Pharma actually has a major problem. Less and less new drugs are being approved, even by the FDA, and allowed into market because of their massive toxicity. Now, remember, we're not talking about vaccines. We're talking about drugs, okay, like Lipitor or Advil or Tylenol. The FDA is not approving Big Pharma's new drugs. And every year they're spending more and more and more and more on R&D, and they're not getting things being approved. And this is another graph that talks about that. Year over year, they spend lots and lots of money on R&D, and the FDA is not approving. So they're actually losing a lot of money with drugs. Remember, drugs are synthetic molecules. So they are looking for a new way to profit. Otherwise, they're going to tank and they're going to crash and burn. But I really want you to understand this. Big Pharma is not doing well, okay? They're not doing well. They're actually losing a lot of money. So what does the Sustainable Development Goals have to do with them? Well, the UN put this thing through the World Health Organization called the Sustainable Development Goals, supported by them too, by the way. And the Sustainable Development Goals lay out this utopia: no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, clean water and sanitation, life below water, etc. I mean, it sounds like, amazing, Some of the things are questionable, but, poverty and all these ending poverty, etc. And what did these Sustainable Development Goals say? If you read them, in order to get there, embedded in the document, their path to utopia is global vaccination. So they've laid out, let me put it very clear, Sustainable Development Goals. And they call it this, it's their version of utopia. So every person says, oh my God, of course I want that. And if you really read it carefully, 13 out of these, they have 17 goals, 13 to 14 out of the 17 goals demand global vaccination. So again, this is an amazing PR thing. I'm going to offer you all of this, but in order to get there, we're going to have to vaccinate. I'll read you this, and you can go read it. I've gone through the immunization agenda of 2030, a global strategy to leave no one behind. This is the document that's part of the Sustainable Development Goals. And what does it say? Right, if you go to page 1, it right away says, a world where everyone at every age fully benefits from vaccines for good health. Okay? I'll read it again. A world where everyone, everywhere, anytime, any place, by anybody, right? At every age, fully benefits from vaccines for good health. So they have done two very clever things. They said good health demands vaccines.